Welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Come on to the theatre.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 22 of the Manx Theatre Podcast with me, Neil Callin. Thank you to everyone who's listened to our previous episodes. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome along and thanks for joining us. In this podcast, we'd like to try and keep up to date with what's going on in theatre on the Isle of Man and chat to the cast and creators of upcoming shows to find out a little bit more about the shows and the people behind them. You can still listen to all of our previous episodes through all the usual podcast outlets and at manxradio.com/podcasts. Whilst you're there, make sure to subscribe, give us a like, rate and leave a little review and share with all your friends, as that helps us move up the podcast charts. You can also keep up to date with what's going on by following Manx Theatre Podcast on Facebook and Instagram and Manx Theatre Pod on Twitter.
Coming up in this week's episode,
I chat with four of the principal cast members of the Douglas Choral Union's imminent production of Shrek the Musical. I managed to catch up with them on Sunday 18th of April as they held a garden rehearsal before the restrictions were lifted the following day. I decided to keep to the four main characters of Shrek, Donkey, Princess Fiona and Lord Farquaad, as speaking to all of the named characters would have made this our longest podcast by at least 3 hours. Finally then, Lockdown 3 is over, and whilst we're all being encouraged to remain vigilant, the island, and more importantly for us, the theatre, has reopened. As I speak, the Douglas Choral Union are charging full steam ahead and getting the theatre ready to open Shrek on Saturday the 1st of May. If you haven't already got your tickets, get them now by going to villagaiety.com or by ringing 600 555. The Christine Wilde Theatre School are also working hard putting the final touches to their production of The Wizard of Oz, which has had to move several times from last summer to the 19th to the 23rd of May this year. Let's keep our fingers crossed for them that there'll be no more delays. Parker Snell's production of To Kill a Mockingbird follows quick on their heels and runs from the 27th to the 29th of May. Hello Little People's production of The Twits has moved to the 11th to the 13th of June, and Taylorian Productions will be presenting A Chorus Line at the Gaiety from the 7th to the 14th of August. Sadly, we didn't make it out of lockdown with all the shows intact, and unfortunately, the Isle of Man Young Farmers concert has sadly had to be cancelled this year. But they promise to be back next year with something bigger and better than ever before. Right then, without any further ado, let's dim the house lights and lift the curtain on my chat with Thomas Iain Dixon, Jonathan Sleight, Dandi Dancox and Lorcan O'Mahony.
you're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
I'm joined on the Manx Theatre Podcast today by four members of the principal cast of the Douglas Choral Union's upcoming production of Shrek the Musical. Today we've got Thomas Iain Dixon, who's playing Shrek. We've got Jonathan Sleight, who's playing Donkey. We've got Dandi Dancox playing Princess Fiona, and Lorcan O'Mahony, get the name right, who's playing Lord Farquaad. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the podcast.
Morning. Literally morning.
It is,
Sunday
yes.
morning.
And it's Sunday as well, and it's early for a Sunday, certainly for some of you anyway.
That's my fault. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
So how are we doing, guys?
Good.
Yeah, blown away that it's actually going on now.
Yeah.
It's,
Third time lucky.
Yeah.
This
I
is,
mean-
as you were saying just before, this should have been last night should have been the last night, or last night should have been the opening night on previous dates. Yeah. So obviously it would have been a bit of a stretch to get it on last night.
The original dates were sort of the usual slot mid-February, wasn't it? And then with the January lockdown, we got pushed back to this week, and then March struck, and now we got pushed to the end of April, but then that got jiggled on a little bit more, and now it's the 1st of May to the 7th, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, just in case it sounds like on the podcast that you've inserted a nice bed of rehearsal music, that's actually a rehearsal going on in Sarah Holland's garden right now.
Brilliant. Well, at least we get a nice sort of nice bed underneath that saves me having to try and edit anything in anyway. So how's it been going then? Obviously it's been frustrating then with the delays, but how's it affected rehearsals with losing the lump of January and then March?
It's been really weird. It's been a really weird year. Obviously it started off March, April last year when Dandi was supposed to be doing Ghost, and then that didn't happen. And then we were supposed to be doing School of Rock, and that's been cancelled. And then we were supposed to be doing Shrek, and then that got pushed back. And for me, I just got really pessimistic about it, and got really frustrated by everything, and just was like, this isn't going to happen, it's never going to happen. Luckily everyone else managed to stay a bit more positive than me, but Weird, just really weird year for doing anything theatrical.
Yeah, and I guess to a certain
hit it on the
extent, with the modern wonders of Zoom and everything, you can continue on rehearsing. Certainly the scenes and bits and pieces like that. Maybe a few of the individual songs, together online. But obviously, you can't carry on practicing the big routines and things, can you?
No, I mean,
Not the same, is it?
No, even scenes is difficult. You just can't get the same kind of emotion behind it as you could
Yeah.
in the same room with people. And music, trying to get the right timing going is next to impossible. So
Yeah, I've been tap dancing over and over and over in my bedroom, but it's kind of not the same as it is in a rehearsal room.
Driving your
And
parents
especially
insane.
with a comedy show, where
Yeah.
timing is so important. Being able, we've done one or two script reads, and it just didn't work because the timing and cutting in and comedy gaps and pauses and stuff just didn't work over Zoom. One of the most useful rehearsals that I had, which was quite a rare thing, you don't really get it when you're not in Zoom, is when we all just sat down and talked about our characters and talked about motivations and how we were feeling. And it's something that very often when you're doing a show you go off and do on your own, but it was the first time I've ever done it that we have actually been able to sit around and kind of bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
And it was something that was afforded to us for the first time in a show like this because we haven't been able to rehearse. I found that really good.
it was fascinating in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun as well.
I don't think I was at that room.
No, you weren't.
No, you weren't.
It was really good, Dandi. You would have really liked it.
That's why it was good.
I don't know.
I think you were ill. I'm not sure.
COVID. Just blame COVID. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of it going around. So, Lorcan, you've had quite a busy 12 months. You've managed to fit a couple of shows in the gap in between, because you had...
Calendar Girls.
Yes, you did Calendar Girls, didn't you?
Yeah, and then we were supposed to be doing the rehearsals for School of Rock, and as part of that we did the Sunday night at the Villa.
Yes.
And we did one song from that, which was really great, and I fell in love with the kids, and I fell in love with the whole show, and I think that's why I was struggling with Shrek being put back, because I had put so much, even just to do one song in one show, I put so much into it and got to know all the kids, and
Yeah.
They got to know me, and we built up like a rapport, and I remember doing shows as a kid, and there were these adults, and sometimes they just sat in their own corner of the rehearsal space and everything like that. And sometimes you just kind of looked at them like, oh my god, they're adults and we're kids. So I wanted, obviously with the role that Dewey was supposed to be, I wanted to kind of remove that. So I got to know all the kids, and we used to sit around and mess around, and I used to mislead them and tell them terrible things to do as children in every rehearsal.
So it's a standard normal rehearsal for you then?
Standard normal rehearsal for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did that for Sunday night at the Villa, and it was great fun, and we had an absolute blast. And then it got cancelled, and Shrek got pushed back. And yeah, at least we got to do Calendar Girls, which was lovely, and actually meant something. I did it with Dandi's mum, who I'd never actually done anything with before and didn't know up until recently, and didn't know Dandi up until we started doing Calendar Girls, because we hadn't started Shrek yet. So that was just lovely to get something like that done that actually meant something. Yeah, it's been busy, but often felt a bit of a fruitless 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice, like you know, and probably most of the people who listen to this know how much work goes into putting on a show, even just for a 2-week period, even for an amateur production on the Isle of Man. We've been rehearsing since October, so it's nearly now 6 months since we started. And it's so much work, and it just felt like it was all circling the drain. But here we are, and it isn't, and I'm actually allowing myself to get excited again.
Brilliant. Dandi, did it feel a bit deja vu for you, obviously with Ghost getting cancelled literally the day before getting?
A bit of a bad omen, to be honest. 2 of the biggest parts that I've had, and they've both been paused because of COVID, so yeah, it did feel a bit like deja vu, but I'm excited to get this one on stage.
Brilliant. So this will be the first thing for you since Les Mis with Manx Ups back in 2019?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, it will be.
Probably feels like
Yeah.
forever ago.
I know. Feels like forever ago, but at the same time, it actually doesn't feel that long ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to get back onto the stage.
Yeah. Jonathan and Ian, it's been a while since you two have been on stage as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's been it seems like, say in COVID times, it seems like everything seems forever ago. So yeah.
Jonathan, your last
Singing
one
Forever
was
outside, which is quite apt.
yeah. Jonathan, your last one was Understudies Valjean, wasn't it, in Les Mis with Dandi?
Was it was
24602.
24602. Yeah. Sean Valjean, John's little brother. Yeah, it was
Jew and Valjean.
even better. Jew and Valjean. Yeah, that was. But like Dandy said, it doesn't feel that long ago, but it also feels so long ago. Like it's the thought of going back into the theatre now is really weird. Like it's going to be really weird next weekend. Not in a bad way, but it like a couple of people have said it. It felt at times like this was never going to happen, and now it almost feels like you're scared to get too excited. But I think it'll be alright.
I feel a bit out of touch.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
I'm going to go on stage and just forget everything.
Yeah.
It's, I was saying this to the group yesterday or the day before. You know that feeling? It's usually about 2 or 3 weeks before a show, and you realise this is on in 2 weeks, and the director says we've only got 5 more rehearsals or whatever until the show's put on. And you're like, I do not know this show at all. This is an absolute disaster. And like you actually sit and think about it, and then maybe one rehearsal it all kind of clicks together, and you're like, this is great. Well, we're at the position where I feel like I do not know the show at all, and it literally is on in 2 weeks, and we've not done a rehearsal in 2 months' time, and it also feels like, like a week or two after a show or a month after a show, and then you try and remember your lines or you try and remember anything, and it's all just gone.
Yeah.
Well, we're also in that position, so it's a really weird
Which scene is this?
position of the two.
I guarantee as soon as we get back in the rehearsal space,
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
come flowing back.
Yeah.
I
Still
think the
there.
hard part is because before Christmas we were so ready,
Yeah.
like it was
Yeah.
in such a good place and could probably have gone on stage.
Yes.
And now we've had 2 lockdowns, like not even just one, 2 lockdowns, and it's just like everything's just gone out the window.
Yeah.
And I think
It's bad enough
been
when
hard
the-
to keep motivated.
It's bad enough when a show has that little 2-week break over Christmas. You come back in
Yeah.
January and you go, what was this routine again?
So
Yeah.
it kind of worked out really weirdly because we had the 2-week break, and then we came back, and then quite early on in January the lockdown happened.
We did one, I think, did we? One rehearsal?
One
No, we were
rehearsal.
back in lockdown,
Yeah, and went back into lockdown, and then we came out of lockdown, and we were told. So the lockdown ended in February, and we were told that the show was kind of going on end of April. So the production company decided not to, let us get overwhelmed by it or have too many rehearsals and that we'd trying to get burnt out. So they actually spaced out rehearsals, which had it run perfectly would have been fine because we would be at a position where we'd taken a slow run up to it. But because no one could see the future, we actually didn't do that many rehearsals between coming out of lockdown 2 and going into lockdown 3. So where it was in December before the Christmas break, I think was better than where it was when we're going into lockdown 3 because we were kind of taking it a bit slower. But I think we'll benefit now from the intensity of the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Where we don't have a free day until the 8th of May.
Till the end of the show.
This is life now.
It almost feels like we're professional productions do it in kind of a short period of time, albeit full-time days. So it feels like we're getting that. But I think we'll benefit from the intensity because there'll be no gaps in between rehearsals and there'll be no time to lose anything.
I think as well because it's such a nice cast. Like I've just loved being at rehearsals and obviously being with you 3. I've just absolutely had the best time, and I think we'll all pull each other through it. And I think, everyone will pull it together anyway, and it'll be amazing. But I think because we've all got that friendship backstage as well, it'll just make everything so much easier. And if one is having a bad day, the rest of us will pull them through it, which
100%.
I think is the best thing
And
about.
that's not marketing, is it? We genuinely we got a nice cast.
Yeah.
We got them.
I'm not just saying that because I want tickets to be sold.
I
But
think we kind of have to say
yeah, we actually
we
all
do.
meet each other.
Yeah, it's unique. There's not an ego in this cast.
No,
Everyone is
there
just
isn't,
so chilled out and
obviously.
relaxed and just having a good time, and it's
Yeah.
just so much fun to do it. It's you do feel a little bit blessed by it, I have to say.
Yeah, I think it's definitely easier because it's such a lovely cast, and because it's a light-hearted show and silly, it's almost like an adult pantomime. It's just just daft. Like I couldn't imagine doing 2 solid weeks of Les Mis and then having to put it on and just like
It's heavy.
Yeah.
So Ian, the makeup for Shrek, I guess that's going to be a pretty epic job every night.
It takes some getting used to, yeah. I mean, the first time I had to have it done, I think it took about 2 hours to put the whole thing on. And I mean, props to the makeup guys who are doing it. They're getting faster and better every time through, and the amount of effort that's gone into it is astronomical. I mean, all I have to do is sit there in a chair and just close my mind off, but the amount of work they have to do to make Shrek happen every day is just unbelievable. And it's tough to wear it. It's so hot, hence I have shaven my head, because the amount of heat you have to deal with is just insane. But
I was just looking at that and wondering if that was a purposeful decision as part of the costume. That's entirely Shrek based. It's just the first time I wore the whole thing, I had a full head of hair, and obviously the cap came off and it was just wet everywhere, and it was unpleasant to be part of that. So
Nose dropped off, didn't it?
Yeah, my dropped. Yeah, most of the prophetic face fell off. The nose came off. The chin came off. It was.
We were doing a promo shoot, so it was all over Douglas. It was like on Douglas Head in Manx Radio, DQ offices. Thanks to our sponsors DQ, and it was a really when was it, like October or something? It was like
a long time ago,
it was a really hot day in winter, and I mean I was in layers and layers and a big cape and just running around on my knees. Jonathan had ice packs down, a massive furry donkey suit. Ian had prosthetics falling off his face. And Dandi, luckily enough, just had to wear a massive velvet dress. So it was all absolutely roasting.
Yeah.
Dandy's got the best one there so far, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was good that we had that day, because now we know that we're like Jonathan's going to have about 20 ice packs dotted around his body as he's in. I think.
Hot.
Yeah. I had the option. I just foolishly decided, let's try it without first. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah. No regret.
Costumes are great though. It's worth going to see. The costumes are really good quality costumes.
Absolutely superb.
I love the donkey costume. It's just so furry.
Thunder thighs. Yeah.
I love it.
He's thick.
Donkey is thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. No wonder Dragon fancies him.
I guess, Jonathan, you'll be about half a stone lighter by the end of the run.
I know. I'm gonna have to start eating a serious amount of bread or something, because we've already said this. Like, it's probably the most physical show I think I've ever done.
Yeah.
Because it's full on the whole time. Like, Dave Dawson made the point a few weeks ago that it needs a lot of energy all the time, and if that drops, it starts to flatten. So you've got to keep that up. And because we're all dressed in these massive costumes, it's mega physical. It's gonna be quite hard,
and especially for your character who doesn't have a drop at any point. Like, you have to be
full on all the time.
Yeah, at least I can be miserable and just plod around.
Plus that on top of the show diet, which everyone naturally loses weight anyway. You don't eat for a week because you're on an adrenaline rush.
I mean, it's like Lorcan said there before, it's like an adult pantomime, isn't it? You've got to keep that level of energy up. If that drops, it's a hell of a job to get that audience back up there and with you again, isn't it?
Because it's daft, isn't it? Like you said, it's dead daft. Dead funny, it's really funny, but it's some parts you're going like, what is going on?
But it sounds... I kind of regret calling it an adult pantomime. It might not get people wanting to come, but it does have a lot of heart in it as well. So there are a lot of... Like, a pantomime is always up, and we do get afforded the odd kind of dips. And not dips in terms of how fun the show is, but dips in terms of manic energy to really heartfelt, sweet moments, especially with Shrek, especially with Fiona. Not so much with Farquaad. And never with Donkey.
No.
Oh no, you get some emotion.
We get some very nice moments being done.
There's a couple of moments. A bit of bromance.
Right, so for people who've lived under a rock for the last 20 years and know nothing about Shrek, can you explain the story for us a little bit, or maybe how it differs from the film? If at all.
So Shrek was a prisoner, and he comes off a prisoner ship, and he's immediately arrested.
French blood.
Oh no.
Was he arrested for stealing a loaf of bread?
All right, Ian, you go.
Try not to spoil the story too much. Basically, Shrek is an ogre who wants to...
What?
I know, it's a surprise to all of us. who just wants to be left alone to his misery. He's happy like that. But this Lord Farquaad has decided that his lovely little kingdom, or non-kingdom, which is what he wants to achieve, is not allowed to have any freaks or strange creatures in it, so he exiles them all to Shrek's swamp, and it's all about Shrek's journey to get them all back where they came from and to have his own peace and quiet back again. And the kind of the lessons and the growth that he has along the way.
Yeah, there's almost a running theme of genocide running through.
That's there throughout.
A bit of eugenics being carried out by Farquaad. He wants everyone to look like him and gets rid of all the freaks.
Yep.
But there's nothing wrong with being a freak, as you'll be able to tell us, Neil.
Sorry.
And interview ended. Just edit Lorcan out of the whole thing. And deliberately spell his name wrong.
O'Mahony.
But yeah, it's all about Shrek's growth as a character, and it only happens because of the great characters he meets, such as Donkey and Fiona, without whom his journey wouldn't be possible.
And it is pretty similar to the film.
Yeah.
It's kind of, obviously the music's different because it's a musical.
Yeah.
But yeah, the storyline and the kind of main points of the movie are in the musical. So
There's a few differences, just because you can't get the same things on a stage as you can on screen, but I would say that, yeah, like Dandi says it's true. It's
the bulk of it.
Yeah,
is-
90% the film.
Yeah.
And if you love the film and you like the quotable moments and the quotes
Yeah.
that you know and love are in the show,
Yeah.
so that's something to connect to. I know sometimes these stage shows can be a lot different to the film that they're supposed to be. So I think there's that great connection, especially for kids who love the show, the movie. They'll be able to come along and go, oh yeah, I recognise that.
The other thing I would say as well is the music's very good. Like,
Yeah.
I was interested primarily because I thought it'd be fun, but I was really impressed by how good the music is. So there's some really, really excellent songs, like as good as you'll hear in any other show, which surprised me to be honest, but they're brilliant.
100%.
You know?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Donkey.
some of them.
Donkey's got lots of sort of really sort of funky soul-based songs, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got initially, obviously, everyone says, "Oh, it's Eddie Murphy," and I think that's what people will probably still expect. But Dave Dawson was more. He said more of a. He's looking more for James Brown, so he's saying like, "I want you to be a bit of a mix between James Brown, Eddie Murphy, and Carlton Banks." Interesting.
Which is easy
I hope
for
the dance is
farmer
there.
from the Alamance.
Oh yeah, I'm always doing stuff like that. So, but yeah, the voice is quite iconic, I guess. So I'll try and get that, but a bit more of the kind of, like I said, it's James Brown, more of a funky type thing. But
I think that's something that I've not envied or struggled with, is because Shrek is so well known, and the voice of Shrek and the voice of Donkey is so well known.
Yeah.
I've been let off easily because Farquaad is just a generic kind of bad guy voice, so I've not had to worry about people coming with expectations about my character. And in
Same
fact,
with me.
the expectations about my character are kind of subverted. I don't know how many people know about how the character of Farquaad is played, but I think people will be surprised at how it moves around stage and stuff like that. And
How are
same
the
with
knees?
the knees haven't been used for about 2 months, so I'm worried. It's actually more the core. So
Yeah.
my center of gravity when I'm standing up is around my hips, so I can kind of move that. Whereas when I'm kneeling down, it's around my chest or around my stomach. So, I do move around a lot, and I do dance routines on my knees. So it's trying not to fall over all the time and having no core strength whatsoever.
It's even more of a challenge than normal then with the dance routines.
Well, I can't dance anyway, so put me on my knees. And the worst thing about it is I don't have Neil Callin with his notebook saying, no, you should have done this step. But the benefit then again is I don't have to dance with anyone else, and I'm my own little egomaniac, so if I get it wrong, then everyone else has actually got it wrong, not me.
Yes, brilliant. If you're interested in local musicians and artists, check out our sister podcast, Supergroup, where Neil King talks to Manx songwriters and musicians as they set up their fantasy supergroup.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Right then, Lorcan, I've already asked most of these anyway, but when we spoke way back, 2019, before the funny thing about...
Depression.
Yeah, the funny thing about depression.
Really funny show.
Let's direct this at the others then, first then. Dandi, what was your first ever role?
My first ever role was actually Baby Miranda in Return to the Forbidden Planet, and I was 9 months old.
Yes. Gosh, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
You were a video, weren't you?
Yes, but then my first proper role on stage, I suppose, was Princess Yowlak in The King and I. That was in 2009, so I was 9.
So that was with Taylorian Productions.
Yeah.
Great. Jonathan, what was yours?
Yes. First role, various Beauty and the Beast, DCU, although most infamously Mr. Cake Slice.
Yes.
Who's also craziest costume and weirdest character, like a cake slice. I was a cake slice. So yeah, Mr. Cake Slice was my.
But then your first named character, which was sort of your first principal role.
Oh right, okay. Would be not Jamie, Harry in My Fair Lady, alongside Dave Dawson as Jamie. We were do little sidekicks.
Oh yes. Ian, what about you?
First one was a school show. I was about 15, called Too Many Goodbyes. It was written by Chris Mabry and Nick Roberts, I think. It's a character called, I think his name was Thomas, and it just it sang.
So that's where you got your name.
That's where I got my name. That's my stage name. I could be wrong. It's a long time ago, but sang one song, went off and died, and then came back on and sang another song as a ghost. Started the long tradition I have with dying in shows, which is still probably above 50% by this point.
At least you're guaranteed to see it to the end in Shrek.
Yes.
Well, some surprise.
If I die, it'll be me dying because of all the weight of the prosthetics and makeup.
Might actually die.
Yeah.
Right then, go to all of you then, because Lorcan, you might have updated this since we spoke. But what's your dream role? I mean, this can either be the role that you've played or the one that you just it's top of your bucket list.
Dewey in School Rock.
Oh.
It's alright, it's okay. It's okay.
Let it out.
It'll happen again
let it
some
out.
other day.
Dandy?
That's painful.
Probably Kim in Miss Saigon, but I don't think that would be possible.
Cancelled.
Yeah, I don't think that would actually happen, but that's probably one of my favourite roles in the musical ever.
Yeah. Jonathan?
I'd love to have a go at Judas, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
Definitely. I've always wanted to play a bad guy. I don't think I ever have. I've tried, but I always yeah, I've never done it. I've tried a couple of times, but I've never got the role.
You're
so
too nice, John. You're too
no,
nice.
I don't know. It's something I'd like to. So definitely Judas, Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah.
Ian?
I'm playing it. Sorry, Lorcan. I've loved this show for absolute donkey's years. Hey. Yeah. So when this, I mean, I never expected to get this. When I heard it was going on, I thought I had to apply. I just would happily be in the chorus for this. I just love the show, and then got the phone call, and I can't repeat what I said because it's a family show. But yeah, no, I'm playing the role that I've wanted for absolute years. So I feel very, very lucky about that now.
Great. Now, the next one is about the best and or worst costumes that you've had to wear. I think possibly the costumes that you've got for this show might fit into both.
Yes.
Yes, for me.
It could be, actually.
I don't think I've ever had to do much in the way of costume, so having a full kit strapped to the front of me with fake legs, having to wear knee pads, and actually, for of the four of us here, I'm by far in the show the least. I have the most costumes of anyone in the show.
Yes.
So imagine doing costume changes on your knees.
So you're saying then that this is worse than those lovely rainbow lycra outfits we had to wear in Spamalot.
Good point. It's that. It's the lycra.
It's still the lycra. Ian?
Ooh. Yeah, it's a great costume, Shrek, it really is, but the act of wearing it is difficult. I would say it definitely ranks among the worst for how hard it is to have it on.
Yeah.
But it is among the best to look at and to have the privilege of wearing, so yeah, this is the best and worst. Runners up for best is definitely Phantom. The costume I had for Phantom was fantastic. It was just a wonderful, wonderful suit.
Brilliant. Jonathan?
Yeah, to be honest, probably the same. We haven't actually. I've only worn the costume I think twice, maybe 3 times, but it's insanely heavy. Like when you think of a donkey costume, you almost think like a lot of people have said like, which end of the donkey are you? It's like it's not that kind of costume. Exactly. Yeah, both. But it's like people think it's a donkey costume. It's just like a donkey skin, but it's not. It's padded to bits and it's huge. And you've got you've got no hands, so I've got no fingers because I've got hooves, obviously, and the hooves on your feet. So it's I'm not saying it's the worst, but it's certainly the most immersive. I think it's just it's. I mean, without going into detail, we don't even know how it goes to the toilet in it because it's got two morph suits underneath the donkey suit. And it zips up at the back, and I've got no fingers, so...
Some assistance required.
Yes.
Dandi.
Off the top of my head, I can't think. I'd mentioned before I had to wear this silver morph suit, and it was horrendous. It's the worst thing I've ever worn. But most of my parts I've ever played, I'm in dresses. Even for this, I've got really nice dresses. So, honestly, just no complaints here.
Oh, how it is to be young. Right, okay, the next one then. This is one that can sometimes cause some difficulty for people when they come up with their decision. And this is the gender swap role. So what role would you play of the opposite gender? Dandi, you're nodding and smiling. Go on, you can go first.
Yeah, this isn't even a difficult one for me. It would be Seaweed from Hairspray.
Oh,
it's just
brilliant.
such a good role. I just the music, the dancing, everything. I just love it. Yeah, so it would be Seaweed for me.
Brilliant. Jonathan?
I found this. I couldn't really come up with an answer to this. To be honest, driving in, I thought there's one song that a female character sings that I'd love to sing as memory. I don't even know the name of the character, but if I could do that song, just absolutely kills people.
Grisabella from Cats.
Brutally haunted. Yeah, that's who it is. I think if there's that song, I'd love to sing that song. It's just I don't know if I could, to be honest, because it's a heartbreaker. But that's a song that I'd definitely like to sing. Oh, the Gypsy Queen from Tommy. That's a good part.
Yeah.
Like, hell of a. That's just a big sing. That's quite good. But yeah, it's a difficult question that. That's all I could come up with, to be honest. Yeah.
Ian?
Quite a hard question.
Yeah, tough one. Best thing I could come up with, I think, was Mrs. Lovett. That's really hard.
Oh, brilliant.
Great fun, yeah.
That's what I chose way back on episode 1 when Neil King interviewed me. That was the part that I chose.
Great minds, man. Great minds.
Hey. Lorcan?
It says a lot about musical theatre where it's much easier for a female to think of a good male part than for a male to think about a good female part.
Yeah.
I think I'd love to be one of the six. I've not watched the show, but I've listened to the music for Six, and that's some great music. And I mean, probably recency bias, but Fiona is a great part. Really good comedy part.
Yeah.
Andy absolutely nails the comedy part.
100%.
If I could come up with some sort of agreement where I get a body double to do the tap dance.
Have a stunt double for the tap.
It's it is getting better. I think though. I think in a few years it'll be much easier for men to say what their favourite female role would be, because in the past female roles have just been helpless damsels.
Yeah.
Whereas now with a role like Fiona, she's an absolute. I'm allowed to say badass. You can beep it out. If not, she's a badass.
We'll go for it.
And the funny thing about Shrek is she spends her whole time wanting to be with someone else, but she's so independent. Like she doesn't need anyone else.
No.
And in fact, when the person comes along, it's perfect for her because she is perfect on her own, and Shrek is exactly what she needs rather than what she thought she wanted. And that's what I really like about Fiona's character.
Yeah, she's really tomboy. She's not princessy at all. I mean, she has a farting competition on stage. So she's obviously like Princess Fiona. She's beautiful and it's like a lovely part, but at the same time, she is like one of the boys.
Yeah.
And it's like it's almost like an allegory to modern life, I guess, in a way that she's grown up reading these books about what the perfect woman should be.
Yeah.
And reading all these, like the perfect fairy stories. And she's not any of that. She's her own person. And it's that kind of angst inside where she thinks that she needs to have this Prince Charming, but when in fact she just needs love and the care that Shrek brings, and he can see who she really is. And I think it's really good in a modern world where we just see social media telling us what a woman should be rather than enabling her to just be who she is.
I think Lorcan wins best answer on this one.
That's pretty deep for
agree,
Sunday
Dandi?
morning.
I do agree.
Okay, well, before I let you get back to
we got
rehearsals...
Jude knocking on the window.
Just pulling rude signs.
Yeah. Jude, I've never seen you do that hand signal before.
2 minutes, I think she's saying 2 minutes.
2 minutes, right, okay. Right, before we go then, let's have
now it's 1 minute.
1 minute, okay.
One on each hand now.
Right, before I let you get back to rehearsals then, let's just do our last little bit, which is to do with the Manx Theatre playlist on Spotify. So last year, as we came out of lockdown, we started a playlist to come up with the ultimate musical theatre playlist. Now, Neil King and I both added 10 songs of our own to get it started because, who wants to listen to a playlist with 2 songs? These songs were songs from shows we've been in, songs we've sung, or just songs that really mean something to us. So we set that ball running, and then every guest from that point onwards has added another song to the list. So some of the highlights, because the list is getting quite long now, we've had Emma Callin added the overture from West Side Story. Perry O'Day added Being Alive from Company. Bethy McGee added the I Love You song from the 25th Annual Putnam Spelling Bee. Joe Hillard chose Me in the Sky from Come From Away. Tony Eccles added When I Grow Up from Matilda. And in the last episode, Nicky Openshaw added You Will Be Found from Dear Evan Hansen. So, people, what songs would you like to add to the playlist and why? Dandi.
Oh no, go to someone else first.
Okay, Lorcan.
I was struggling with mine until the drive here, because that's when I started thinking of this answer. And for me, I had to choose a song from School of Rock because it's a show I loved without ever doing it. And I was thinking about all the amazing songs that Dewey gets to sing, and the song I've chosen isn't any of them. It's If Only You Would Listen, and I'm getting a lump in my throat now thinking of it, because it, for me, I mean, its place in the show is beautiful because it's the kids talking to the adults, and I know what those kids are talking about because they're trying to be themselves, and the adults won't let them. They have to, like we've been talking about, they have to fit into this mold. And I know as a weird kid growing up that I have had that frustrations. Not from my mother, she's been wonderful, but trying to not be what everyone expects you to be. Yeah. But the first real rehearsal we had for School of Rock, which had the director there and everything, the kids had already been practicing this, and they sang this song, and I cried first time in a proper rehearsal. I properly was crying, and so that song actually means an awful lot, and I think it means an awful lot for the kids who should have been in School of Rock, and obviously aren't.
Fantastic choice. Who wants to go next? Ian?
Sorry, there was shouting outside, which distracted my answer.
It has to be one from this show for the reasons I said before, and there's only one choice, which is Who I'd Be. I just think it's a song that finishes the first half, and it's just, for me, the best song in the show. It's just emotion on a plate. It's Shrek just finally letting out his frustration and anger and upset with the world about that nothing is the way he'd want it to be. It's just, you get wonderful little moments from Fiona and Donkey as well. It just culminates in a wonderful 3-part harmony, and it's just perfect. It's the best way to end. To me, it's just as good as One Day More.
Brilliant. Looking forward to hearing it. Jonathan?
Yeah, that's like Lorcan said. You could pick so many different ones, but I'll pick either Heaven on Their Minds or Damn for All Time from Jesus Christ. Yeah, both because they're both. But I would be really picky here and say only the film version that your man. I can't remember his name. Carl, someone. He played Judas in the film. Only his version, because I'll be honest.
That's Gerard Cardon.
No, he's Carl, someone. He's an American fella. But he, when you see the Tim Minchin one, to be honest, I hate all that stuff. I think it's rubbish. I just don't think it's. I don't know. It's too. I don't know. But I don't like. That fella just sings like his life depends on it, and he's full of hate, and he's full of anger, and he's full of torment, and it's brilliant. It's not. I know it's not classic stage singing because it's very rocky, but I just think it's amazing stuff. Really good.
Okay, well, Heaven on Their Minds is already on the playlist, so we'll go for Damn for All Time.
But only his version.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. Right, Dandi, have you made up your mind yet?
Yeah, I have. I think I would like to add What Bacon Can Do from Waitress, because it's just such a lovely song, and it just reminds me of my mum, and yeah, she's kind of like, oh, right in the feels. And she's kind of like, she's singing to her mum in it, and the whole musical is just such a beautiful musical, and I just absolutely love that song, and it means a lot to me. I've sang it at like so many different things. Oh my god, that sounded so big-headed. I did not mean it like that. I absolutely didn't mean it.
it so
No, I did not mean it like that at all. I just meant like it's kind of like my go-to song, and it's just really lovely, and whenever I hear it, I just think of my mum. So yeah, I'm gonna add that one.
Brilliant.
Carl Anderson.
Carl Anderson.
Get that version on.
I'd like to give Lisa Dancox a shout out.
She's a legend. We love you, Lisa.
She is. And she's someone
You
we
need to get
definitely
Lisa
need to get
on
on a
this.
future episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got more experience than the rest of us put together.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
And then some.
And then some, yeah.
Right, everybody, thank you very much. We wish you all the very best with the upcoming show. Enjoy the next 3 weeks, because it'll be gone before you realise. Have a great, fantastic show, and we'll see you on the other side. See you soon.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you
Thank you for
very
having
much.
us.
Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast with Neil Callin.
And with that, we bring episode 22 to a close. Thanks once again to Ian, Jonathan, Dandi and Lorcan for joining me on the podcast today. Also, big thanks to Jude Fullerton for allowing them time away from rehearsals to chat to me. We wish them all the very, very best for the show which opens on the 1st of May. If you haven't got your tickets yet, you can get them online at villagaiety.com or by calling the box office on 600 555. Remember, people, to get out there and buy your tickets, because without an audience, well, there is no show. Looking forward then, over the next few months, I'll hopefully be catching up with Chloe and Michelle from Hello Little People and finding out about their upcoming production of The Twits and what they've been up to since we last spoke to them back in September. We'll also hopefully be chatting to some of the cast of Parker Snell's To Kill a Mockingbird and catching up with the cast and creatives on Tayloran Productions' A Chorus Line. Centre Stage Productions have just announced their rescheduled dates for the auditions for Annie, which will be the last week of May and the first week of June. Communications and emails from Centre Stage Productions will have been sent out to everyone who've registered for auditions already to let them know when their slots have been moved to. Well, that's it for now, but remember to like and follow our social media pages to get notifications of upcoming episodes and events. Don't forget to check out our Spotify playlist by searching for Manx Theatre Podcast. If you have any events that you'd like me to talk about or promote in a future episode, you can contact me through our social media accounts or by email to manxtheatrepodcast@gmail.com. Well, all that remains is for me to say thanks for listening, and I hope you join me again next time on the Manx Theatre Podcast. I've been Neil Callin. Goodbye.
The Manx Theatre Podcast, taking a look behind the scenes of Manx Theatre.
And happier than actors alive for me.